225 is when
Mhm.
We just have a couple minutes just to
Yeah.
sit
No
and visit.
problem.
I always
No
try to start
problem.
right at 2:30. So this is just that informal time where they're running
Mhm.
the commercials for Palmolive and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
What brought us to Timbercrest?
What, honey? Oh, wait.
Question, what brought us to Timbercrest?
We're not on the mic.
No, not yet,
No.
not yet.
Well, we brought it, came really because we were Church of the Brethren people.
Born and raised, yeah.
Right.
And that's a good retirement place.
Mhm. And so have you had a nice afternoon
Today,
today? Have you had a nice afternoon?
well, we finally got to sleep out. Gee.
Are you eating in your apartment or are you going to the dining
No,
room?
we walk then to the dining
The
room.
courtyard, yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Nice. That's really nice.
Right. Yeah, it is.
You're eating all your
It was closed for a while.
right?
Yeah, and so they brought the meals into us,
Sure.
but it's nice going over. Yeah.
Accomplishments of our lives as a couple and as individuals.
What's the matter?
Reading here,
Yeah, that's
what are
That's your
some
cheat sheet.
accomplishments of our lives as a couple and individuals?
Rosie. You can take your mask off your ear.
It's,
Thank you.
You're
Sit on the
welcome.
edge
You're
of
welcome.
it.
Whoops, got a hearing aid.
Problem with the mask is I pull the hearing aids out every time.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that's the way it
Do
is.
you want me to help you?
I'm used to it.
Well, it's 2:30.
Time for the program.
It is time to get started.
Oh,
That's
boy.
right. And if you've tuned in to Channel 2 and you're watching the Timbercrest chat, today my guests are Dennis and Rosie Butler, Rosemary Butler, and good friends for a long time. And I'm glad to have them here on Channel 2. Before we start, though, just a couple of quick announcements. I just want to encourage everybody to remember that when you're in the corridors and when you're out and about, if you come across other people, to be sure to wear your mask. And I'm sure you're hearing that enough that you don't want to hear it anymore, but that's part of the territory. It's also important to remember that on the Timbercrest chat, and usually for chapel services and evensong, we take the masks off because for a lot of people that muffles the sound on the microphones, and we try to make sure that everybody can hear. But I can rest assured that we put our masks on as soon as the Timbercrest chat's over with.
Yeah.
Most everybody who wanted one got a Timberline yesterday in the mail, and I hope you're taking a look at some of the opportunities that are coming up for that. One of the opportunities that is listed is Sunday afternoon's program of the Manchester Symphony. It's a strings program that will be streamed live on the Manchester Symphony Facebook page. So if you know somebody who has Facebook, or if you have Facebook yourself, you can go to the Manchester Symphony Orchestra and make sure that it's North Manchester, Indiana, because you can look and you can find the Manchester England Symphony Orchestra also. But if you find the Manchester Symphony Orchestra, Indiana, you can go Sunday afternoon. The program begins at 3:00 and live stream the symphony. It's a chamber music program Sunday afternoon of just strings. And the notice that I got wasn't clear that they'll be including the conductor's chat before that or not, but you can check there and see. So other announcements, everything that you really need to know is in your Timberline. And so be sure to take a look at that and see what's going on. So let's get to our interview, shall we?
Sure.
I don't know how clearly on the camera anybody's going to be able to see, but this is Dennis and Rosemary's, or Rosie, I always call you Rosie, Denny and Rosie, wedding picture. And so it's taken, what, 75 years ago?
Yeah.
What was your anniversary date?
September the 8th.
Oh, so just this past month,
45,
just a month
right.
ago, 75 years.
Well, she's really tough.
Is she? I'm sure she must be if she's lived with you for 75 years. I gave you some questions to go over in that, and the first one there I want to ask is, I know that you're both from Detroit. You were born and reared in Detroit, correct?
Right.
And from Michigan. Did you spend your whole lives in Detroit or in Michigan before you came here?
Well, the earlier part of her life, yeah, I was on the far east side of Detroit. Rosie was in the far west side. So I traveled the 30 miles back and forth dating her.
Yeah.
And then we became engaged when the war started.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into the service, and we became engaged then before I went overseas. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did I forget?
You forgot that in between times, college had started. And then he was,
I started at college, yeah.
yeah.
Here at Manchester, or where did you
Both
start?
of us.
Both
We were
of you
both
went to
there.
Manchester.
And he was a midterm graduate, like in January, and I was not till June. So he started after he graduated from high school and went down to Manchester for the first 6 months before going into the Army. Then I came to Manchester in September of that year.
Were you drafted, or did you volunteer for
No.
service?
I was drafted.
Drafted.
I knew I was going, so I quit college and went up north, and my parents had a summer cottage that they had rented. So I went up there and just had a good time hiking on the beach and swimming, and Rosie came up to visit. But then I remember so well when my father, first time I ever saw tears in his eyes, when I got on the train and headed down to camp to be inducted in the Army. Then I went down to Columbus, Georgia for basic training. And that was no fun at all.
No, I've heard not.
But then came back up and thought that I would probably be in Michigan State under the auspices of the Army before going in. But then the Battle of the Bulge came along, and they scrapped that thing and sent me into service right away. And so I was, I remember vividly spending 3 days in a foxhole, the bombs dropping around, but fortunately none of us hit it. Then the Germans started retreating, and we moved out of there, and we just went from town to town. They kept retreating until the war was over then.
Yeah.
And
And in the meantime, I was running back and forth to the mailbox, looking for the mail.
Sure.
And then he was a very faithful, very, very faithful writer and so forth. Yeah.
Well, that was one of the questions I had. I knew that you had been at the Battle of the Bulge and that, but I wondered how it felt for you to be stateside here, and we didn't have then what we have now as far as essentially live coverage of.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
when troops are in battle, they're right there with them now. I mean, at the
Yeah.
moment. But how did that feel for you, Rosie, to know that Dennis was there in harm's way? How did you feel back then?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
how'd you feel about me being in the front, that I
Well-
might get hit or something?
Well, of course I was concerned and worried.
Sure.
I was worried. And as long as the mail kept coming, things were good. But if you'd have a few days in a row you didn't hear, I didn't hear, then that was really worry time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, who did
We've
you?
got a big box, about like that square, filled up with our correspondence back and forth.
Yeah.
I would write every day and she would write every day. I didn't get the mail very often, but I'd get a bunch of it at one time when they would
Yeah.
get back from the front.
Now, were you continue to live with your parents, or did you have to live by yourself while Dennis was?
Oh no, I was still in my senior year of high school.
Kidding.
He was a half a year ahead of me, and so I just finished graduation, and then when graduation came, I started at Manchester College as a freshman, so forth.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are there things you miss about Michigan?
Did I miss about Michigan? Oh, I think being where my parents had a cottage in the woods, that's a place that I probably enjoyed more than any. And Rosie was even able to be up there to visit, so that was a highlight in staying in Michigan.
Yeah. It took a little while, I think, to even when I left for college, Michigan was home. Of course, that's where the family still was. But and Michigan is a beautiful state, a really beautiful state. And we get back once in a while, but we've been gone from Michigan for so long that we're pretty much Indiana people.
Hey, that's all right. That.
Yeah.
You as life goes on, you move up. From Michigan to Indiana.
Right.
So
Yeah.
always a chance to improve.
Of course, we are still Detroit Tiger fans.
Well, that's too bad.
They don't do so well.
Well, I thought you might like the major leagues, though, rather than.
Well, we were major league people because of the,
Well, I was thinking maybe if you like, I don't know, the Reds or somebody like that, but the American League, I.
We used to get to a ball game every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my first, the only time I ever made it to an opening day was
good for you.
At the old Tiger Stadium.
Oh.
The gigantic old Tiger Stadium.
Oh,
the only time, but I wasn't there to watch the Tigers. I think that year they were playing Cleveland for opening day, and I grew up in Northern Ohio, so I was kind of for the. But it was just talk about excitement being at the stadium for opening day. It was just really a good.
But we
good
still
time.
get to an occasional Detroit game. The family got together, and we have gone to several of them, and they're still our favorites.
Sure. Now, where did you go after college? Where did your life take you?
Oh, well,
I was in service.
Right.
Well,
did you move to India? Did you spend time in Idaho, or just your family's out in Idaho?
oh no, they're Idaho people, and no, our son married an Idaho girl. Maybe that's the connection there.
Mm-hmm.
But our boys.
She was from Ohio, Bluffton, Ohio.
Oh yeah, she is.
But
But she went to college to Manchester, right?
When Dan was very young, he says, "When I grow up, I'm going to move west."
Well, he said this because we were great campers in the summer, and we'd take the two boys, and his parents, in the meantime, had moved to Hillcrest in California. So we would go out every summer and visit his mother and dad, and
camp along the way.
Yeah, and
That
camp
sounds
along.
great.
That's what the youngest boy said. When I get married, when I grow up, that was it. I'm going to move west, and he did. He found the right girl in Manchester, and so forth. Yeah.
Well, I remember you telling the story once about you were on the cradle roll in the same church, and
That's
then
right.
that actually, when you walked up the aisle, that wasn't your first time to walk up the aisle together. Is that right? Can you tell us about that? No?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Well, first time we went up the aisle,
We were
Is it-
babies.
we were babies in the arms of our parents. Denny was born in March, and I was born in July, and so I had baby dedications at different times, but we were both dedicated in the First Church of the Brethren in Detroit, and that's the church we both attended, and our families, all of our lives until the point came that we went to Manchester, went to college, and so forth. Yeah.
Her mother was the head of the music department, and so we were both in the choir. And I can remember so well sitting behind Rosie in the choir, admiring her pretty hair and stuff like that. So I knew we were going to get married when the time comes. So.
Oh, nice.
He
That's
knew
really
more than
nice.
I did.
That's excellent. Well, I was, again, I don't know if anybody watching can tell this picture, but when you showed me this, I said, Rosie hasn't changed a bit, but I don't know who this guy is in the picture.
The old guy, he
Yeah.
could turn gray.
That's right. That's right. How have your lives grown together? I mean, you've known each other pretty much all of your lives.
All very.
How have your lives have grown together, but how are ways too that you've grown as individuals?
What?
How have you grown as individuals? How have you,
Okay.
like I said, your lives have been so much together, but have there been separate interests or separate courses you've taken in life?
I don't think that we've grown together more than separately, because everything we do has been pretty much together.
Well, yes, it has, but we both have our likes and dislikes of different things. And Denny was much more of an outdoor sportsman than I was. Golfing has been a big thing in his life. And
Well, I would be out there golfing at least every other day.
yeah, when you didn't have to work.
I didn't have to
Yeah,
work, yeah.
yeah, right. And so we've had a lot of different activities that we enjoy individually, but a lot of us have most of the things, many
But
of
we
them.
were the
Yeah.
sponsors of the youth group,
Yeah,
and had a lot of happy hours with them.
yeah, right, uh-huh.
I don't know what
That was
else.
in Detroit, yeah,
Sure.
In Detroit, yeah.
right.
I know you were in Rotary for a long time, weren't you?
In what?
Lions,
Rotary,
Lions.
Rotary.
right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And the Lions Club?
And the Lions Club. I was in the Lions Club in
Detroit.
Detroit, and I became an officer. So they sent us to. They paid our way to Hong Kong, $50.
Oh,
And we went there and had a great time visiting other people that were in the Lions Club that went there to the convention. And then we traveled around from that point while we were in out west, and had a wonderful time visiting in Hong Kong. And
Well,
So-
in the Orient in general, yeah.
yeah, we've done a lot of traveling. And then in 1973, I thought I wanted to take my bride over to where I fought in the war. So we went over there and
Rented a car.
rented a car and drove to the places, little towns and things where I was during the war, and had a really great visit driving around, and while I was over there, the fighting was pretty well down. So every week on Sunday I'd go to a different church. some
Oh.
beautiful big churches there. So I took Rosie to some of these places that we went. And we've had, just an amazingly wonderful life together. Enjoyed many things together, although we're a lot different. But many different things, right?
Yes, right, yeah.
Well, I know you have children and grandchildren and great grandchildren.
Right.
2 boys, 5 grandchildren. 5 grandchildren, and now
I don't know how many.
11 great grandchildren.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Any greats yet?
2 great.
Yeah.
Greats? Any great? You said
Great
11 great grandchildren.
2 great grandchildren. Yeah.
2 great grandchildren. Very nice. Very
That's
good.
what happens if you get to be old enough.
Yeah, that's right. That's I'm hoping to. I always had it was one of my goals. If you can't really make a goal, but one of my goals is to live to be 100. I would like to live to be 100. So,
Yeah.
but that's
I'm not sure. Really, our health is basically good
right.
for as old as we are. Although I do have cancer of the bladder that has traveled to the chest, but it doesn't seem to bother it. I think it might have even gone away. I just don't know. But so basically, we get around very well.
Yeah.
No problems.
Very good.
Yeah.
Do you have some? You talked about going to Europe in 1973 to see some
Yeah.
of your battle sites and that. Were there other accomplishments that you two have had in your lives?
Oh,
You have 2 boys and all their families.
Right. That's really.
Yeah.
That's an accomplishment. You get them
sure.
ready to
Right.
walk and get out the door on their own. That's
Right,
an
yeah.
accomplishment.
we've always been involved with the church and really enjoyed being sponsors of the youth group, and have had them over our house many times and through the years. And singing activities. I've done a lot of singing
Yeah.
with some solo work, but then with the Orpheus Club of Detroit. So that's been fun, and we sang together. So it's been a good life, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, do you sing too, Rosie?
It doesn't sound like it. Well, I sang many years in the choirs, and enjoyed it, but the
Yeah.
voice, excuse me, is not what it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and singing can be hard on. I mean, it stresses your voice anyway.
Yeah, right.
And I knew that Denny has been a singer from both from Rotary, but also from the Timbercrest Choir.
Yeah.
I knew that, but I wasn't sure that you had ever sung or had been a singer before.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite song?
Mm.
Favorite song?
Nothing that came on the radio that said, "Look, dear, they're playing our song."
I can't think of a favorite song. So many of them.
Any favorite hymns?
I did enjoy singing to at both of the sons' weddings, and I sang the song that. Do you remember the song that I sang at both their weddings?
Well, I should remember, but
Anyway,
Yeah.
sang a song at their weddings.
Yeah.
Very nice. That's really excellent.
And Rosie's always been a very good alto singer. Well, because her mother was head of music at school, so
Well,
in church.
yeah, well, my mother, you mentioned about the choir. She was the choir director of our church in Detroit for 30 years. And so music is it's always been special to me, and it's always been special to Denny. It's something that kind of binds you together too.
Right.
Yeah, but both of the boys asked them to sing, and at that time, there were a lot of the songs that were being sung at weddings were some of the more current popular songs from movies, some from Fiddler on the Roof. I can't remember the names offhand, but anyway, he's enjoyed a lot of that.
Very nice.
And music has been a big part of life, so that's good.
What was your career?
Life insurance, I sold life insurance, and then I bought an agency and sold household insurance, never automobile insurance, but I covered all over the city of Detroit, and so I did a lot of insurance work through the years.
Right.
And I was a teacher all my
I
life.
thought you were a teacher. What did you teach?
Oh, I was a kindergarten teacher.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
good age. That's kids
I-
still like school. They still like going to school
Yeah.
and kindergarten. That's wonderful.
Right. Yeah.
30 years teaching, and then when she finished teaching, we took a vacation and went to Europe and traveled over some of the roads that I fought over. Had such a good time that we went back there time and again and spent time in northern Italy. And northern Italy, it backs right up to the mountains. And then in front of that are the lakes. So it's beautiful country. So we would go for a few weeks, rent a condo or something and spend a lot of time over there.
Yeah.
Well, I know, you mentioned 1973 and other times. That there's been a long time between the end of World War II and the Battle of the Bulge and your visit there. How did people treat you being a veteran? I mean, how did they know that you were a veteran, or did you just kind of keep that quiet? Or
No, I was treated very, very kindly as a veteran. Most of the people, even though the Church of the Brethren is a peace church, I wasn't criticized or looked down on, so I felt good about that.
I wondered how the people in France taught you. How did the people in France, were they grateful for you?
I remember one time so much we were hiking in France, heading up near the front, and some young girl left out the window and gave me an egg, a raw egg. I was so hungry, I cracked the thing and ate it then.
Wow. Yeah.
But the people cheered us all the way up to the front, and because by the time we got there, we had liberated France pretty much. And I came into the front toward the tail-10 of the Battle of the Bulge, and the Germans were pretty well retreating. Like I remember I spent 3 days in a foxhole. They were still dropping bombs, but then they retreated, and I got up out of there. And the next day, I was laying on the hillside, trying to stay out of trouble, and a couple of bombs dropped around there, and one of them hit me in the leg, and I thought, oh man, live, just lost a leg. And it hit the belt buckle of my boot, combat boot, and shattered that, so it didn't hurt a thing. But
Wow.
from that point on, we just went from town to town, getting towards Berlin, and the war was pretty well over. But
Were the Germans glad to see you? Were the German people glad to see you? Did they know that the war was pretty well over?
yeah, it was, yeah. So anyway, it's been a very good, long life. Starting out with 2 babies being brought up, and then 8 or 9, both of us baptized the same day.
Anyway.
Then we're married the same day.
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense.
He, when he got back to the States, by that time I had letters enough that I could pretty much, and they would print it in the paper, like in the Detroit News, various, divisions. Well, divisions that were landing in New York City. And so from that, we got when he was due in New York, and we used that as our gauge for putting our wedding date down on paper and have it printed. And so that when he came home, he called from New York, and I was not home.
Yeah, I want to talk to my sweetheart. I get her on the phone and talk to her. And of all things, I've been talking to my future mother-in-law, so
Oh,
and that was okay.
And she said Rosie's out shopping, and so
Well, that was Tuesday. So she says, how is Saturday for the wedding?
that's right. And
so that's how quickly after,
oh yeah,
really?
that's why we watched the dates that the troops were coming in New York.
Sure.
So we had everything at the printer, and so we called the date in, and we were married that Saturday at Church of the Brethren in Detroit. Right? Yeah,
Very nice. Very
75 years ago.
nice. Hey, that's
Yeah.
really good. So what's been the secret? People ask you this, I'm sure, all the time, because I know every marriage is up and down. Every marriage has its tests, and every marriage has its.
You're bound to disagree on one thing or another, but
Right. But what's kept you together this long?
Loving
we
each
love
other.
each other. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's it.
thankful that we married the right person.
Right.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. We've been very very fortunate.
That's right.
Yeah.
Every time we have this Timbercrest chat,
Mhm.
I always ask people if they'd like to close the chat with some kind of word of encouragement for your friends and neighbors that are here. And of course, that's changed a lot over the last 5 or 6 months. You know, back
Oh,
in March and April, when we shut down everything, and it
Yeah.
was so depressing, it was so sad.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
People were giving words of encouragement that way, but now things are opening up pretty well. And you know, if we all keep our noses clean and we try to do the right thing, we'll stay open for
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah.
But I still think that's important to share words of encouragement
Oh, yes.
with our Timbercrest friends and neighbors. So what kind of ways would you encourage people during this time of the pandemic?
Who's it?
What kind of ways would you encourage people, your friends and neighbors here at Timbercrest? What's something you could say to encourage them?
Oh,
To encourage them?
well,
Love each other.
well, yeah. And
You got to realize that you're not going to agree on everything, but you work things out, right?
well, yes, but I'm thinking about this particular situation with the COVID problem and so forth. It's a difficult time, and I know that I always think and pray that before too long we can find an answer to some of these medical problems that we're having and find something to help people. And so,
Well, I think we will. Yeah.
I agree. I think there's, I think the researchers are doing what they can. You know, they're doing
oh
it.
yeah,
But the other side of that is, you don't want them to hurry
Yeah.
and do something wrong
that's
or
right.
make a mistake. You know,
That's right,
That's the
yeah.
thing. So.
But
Well, I really appreciate you being on the program today. Thank you very much. Like I
Well.
said, I'm really glad you said yes.
It's been our pleasure to come and just share a little bit about our lives, and if it's of any help to anybody,
yeah.
so much the better.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
And thank you, Brian, for inviting us to come. I don't know that we gave any words of wisdom.
Well,
But-
I think you shared a lot of your life's
But
story with
we're
everybody.
Happy to be here. And
I'm
happy to be
glad.
part
I'm
of it.
glad too.
Right. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and I'll go back and turn the camera off, and then we'll be
That'd
finished.
be fine.
All righty.
Thank
See,
you.
You're welcome. And you can
Thank
get your,
you.
you can
Enjoy
go ahead and
your-
get up too if you want. All right. Thank you. See you.
Bye-bye.
I know.
Bye now.
I guess we can gather our stuff up.